It's in a good state.
So how do you run? How far do you run?
Probably just like
50 meters?
no, like 500 meters, or maybe not 500, 300-400 meters away, and then back.
So just not fast, but just.
Yeah, but running.
Did you go with it?
Yeah.
Keep fit.
I'm pretty sure that this might. Next week. Well, that's according to his email. I'll just put on that
One list of things to do next week.
mine too.
अच्छा लग दिले में hot Tsultrim. It's chai day today, right? All right, because I haven't made coffee. All right.
I frustrate.
Yeah, I actually put in that's right here at one time.
I was really on massive emotions now.
Together with the great community monks and the great community of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the one was absorbed in the nation of guidance of form called profound perception. Also, at that time, the Bodhisattva was separately upon his path. We looked upon the very practice of the divine perfection of wisdom and the held as by the aggregates also as inherent nature. Then through the power of Buddha development, we teach the this to the Bodhisattva master. As should any son of the lineage trained who wishes to practice the activity of the divine perfection of wisdom. He said that to the Bodhisattva master, Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shabbat. Any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the divine perfection of wisdom should look correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition, practice, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra likewise, all preliminary entities without characteristic, unproduced, unsist, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition, no practice, no consciousness. No ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no vision, no form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, no phenomenon. There is no eye element and soul life, including no mind element and no mental consciousness phenomenon. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance and so on, no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and there is no absorbing wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattva is reliable and growing perfection. The line without obscuration and without fear, having completely passed beyond error, there is the end point of the line. All the Buddhas dwell in the three times, also manifestly completely awakened to the possible perfect enlightenment relies on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of the great knowledge, the unsurpassable, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra of the fully class, as all suffering shall be known as the truth, is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom. Tayata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasangati Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva master, should train in the final perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva master, Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as if indicated even in its darkness. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the way will show how the future of the Bodhisattva master and those who are all the world's gods, humans, asuras, and devas, for all the joy and harmony praise that is spoken by the Bhagavan. I prostrate to the bearing of the knees in the three chakras, who abide in the holy rose of Jesus. By the power of the words and magical illusions, look up to the perfection of the life of my village of the submission.
Tvayata Om Gate Gate Paragate
Parasangate Bodhi Soha.
By the teachings of the streams of angels possessing the power of truth, may inner and outer hindrances be transformed, may they be dispelled, may they be shifted to glorious soul. May all negative forces opposed to Dharma be completely pacified. May the host of 80,000 obstacles be pacified. May we be separated from problems and harmful conditions to the Dharma. May all enjoyments be in accord with the Dharma, and may they be of consciousness and perfect happiness here right now. Saji Prakesho Metoda Vivaji Devadi Sangeshi Duvite Prabhupada Guru Rana
Sanji
Saman Sadi Chanama Shachu Badi Rani Jasi Dani Chushi Sana Dola
Sanji Drupala Sanji
Saman Sadi Chanama Shachu Badi Rani Jasi Dani Chushi Sana
Dola Beji Sanji Drupala Sanji
Saman Sadi Chanama Shachu Badi Rani Jasi Dani Chushi
Somanji Drupala Beji Sanji Drupala Kangi Tsultrim zonde tawa tamje pambi chere tambi chumdende kodum tela chance. Good morning, everyone. And this is the test the Rochix Samishura.
Oh. And touch the leg to Ani Tenzin. You've been in retreat for a year, right? Over a year. Hi.
And Kunzam Trolle Chansons, and Kunzam Shivajaya took to Trolle Chansons.
So did you enjoy your time in retreat? Where you kind of, was it peaceful and quiet and relaxing? Sometimes.
The Yaburosta, Rot, and Tuzumani, Mimabu Shuzuki, Tuzuki, said the non the control shut down payers of Tolia, Tuzutan, the Pemambros, in Canada, Tuzuki, and Chick, and it champions the Chanju Sen, Gomia Tolia, and Tanya the Jesuits.
Particularly at this point in time where so many people are so involved with affairs that belong to this lifetime only, affairs that increase and fuel attachment, anger, and so forth. So being able to stay in retreat and to use the time to primarily cultivate loving kindness and compassion for the achievement of the mind of enlightenment is something to truly rejoice in.
Say the Dangan the Pilia, some denanja, Madenanja, and it's Pakebo, Shukoyata, and it Tinanta Kitchen, Chishuki, and it's Ramia, Landurni, Shinjimalova, Tending, Lama Givishinia, Tabatana, in Jangoya, and Chiksinjin. Inchitan, Chamba Jangoyati, Giant Tsudi, these wounded Chituana, any the telephagic Gomdun Yamni Singing, May Saris, Kanji Sanji, Chinam Jusagi, and it's Guatamas in the kitchen, Tinichagos.
Being able to remain in retreat with a calm and spacious state of mind, in which you use the time to reflect upon what you need to take up and what you need to cast aside, as taught to you by the Lama, the spiritual friend. And to develop faith in the Lamas, the spiritual friends, to develop pure perception of them. And together with that also to develop loving kindness and compassion to sentient beings is said to be the highest meditation practice that we can take up, in the sense that there is no higher meditation practice or accomplishment that you could have, which is something that was stated by the great masters of the past.
And it's church area, business area, and just Chigos, indigently just Chimato, and the knee, the Karma Kashi, the Tilido's relations.
And this applies to all of us. Geshe says that kind of when we approach that in an honest sense, in a sincere way. Whatever we can to the stability we want to put into our practice. So distinguishing between what we can do at the moment and what we cannot do at the moment, what we can do, we try our best to do it in the best possible way. And this is something to rejoice about. If we don't rejoice in at least doing whatever we can in order to do it, to put things into practice, what else will we be doing?
가지자랑기 로직 사무스리야 강yung 집 찾으러서 라 루치 공부에 나서 간지 소소 칸투도 지역 내기 찾으러서 들 야다마 지시라니스.
Spending some time in retreat, and as you said, it was over a year. So thinking of all the positive things that were done over that years in terms of your meditation, in terms of your training your mind, whatever positive thing, whatever the positive aspect came out from that retreat, Geshe is sincerely rejoicing in that.
가지 자도 질로이서 가디 심지 냠지비 미니마가 tro시나스 라 가디 니비 파치 제보로 초 미리냐 미니바 줘봐 랑 테비시 심진기 대반년도 제비 랑 미니마가 tro시나스.
We began with the section of being patient with those who would belittle you and so forth yesterday. Actually, we began with it the previous week, but yesterday we picked up from this section. So we started point D, which comes under the heading of it is unreasonable to be furious because others lack faith in you. We read through verse 62 that comes under the heading as speaking ill of oneself causes one to lose faith in the speaker. It is reasonable to be furious with the act of speaking ill of others. So we read through part of it. Let's read through that again. I'll put on the screen Geshe Rinpoche's commentary, which is this. So it begins with the first two lines, because it degenerates into beings, I shall be angry at the one saying unpleasant words. An argument is stated in relation to that, though it is unsuitable to become angry at the obstacles to gain. I shall be angry at those who speak unpleasantly to me, as it degenerates the faith of my faithful. This verse continues in saying, why do you not also get angry when unpleasant words are said to others? In answering that qualm, it says, if you're angry because of a degeneration of merit, then why do you not get angry when unpleasant words are said to another person? Here also the virtue of faith for others is degenerated. as it ends with saying, if you're angry because of a degeneration of merit, then why do you not get angry when unpleasant words are said to another person? Here also the virtue of faith for others is degenerated. So that's verse 62. Let's look at the next verse, 63, which comes under the long heading of if one can bear the lack of faith in others. It is reasonable to bear the lack of faith others may not have in oneself due to the afflictions, in verse 63. This verse reads, if you're patient with this lack of faith because it is related to others' non-faith, then why are you not patient with unpleasant words since they are related to the arisal of afflictions? The explanation of the verse goes as follows. In the case where you can be patient without anger with the loss of faith in another due to unpleasant words to them because the object depends on another person, then one mind, are you not patient with the unpleasant words said to me? It follows you should be because they depend on the generation of the other's afflictions.
Taniba dagi givis dagi she la neba chebala troga balanis. Chela never sembi sobe gabatan, never chebala chimney sobe gabo. Tambu chela never sembi sobe gabalani. Kusula soba chebala trumiri pinzentan. Deshin to shella never chebala, sorry boss. Tambukusu solo never cheval. Tromiri Ginzenis Ranilla never cheval, Tromirigan, Conjola never cheval, Trigan, never met to Shenas.
Let's begin with point B, which teaches arresting fear towards those who wrong those due to oneself. So we've covered a section of arresting fear towards those who wrong me or wrong oneself. Now we're looking at this next point, arresting fear towards those who wrong those due to oneself. And there are two main points in that section. Arresting it by means of the patience that is intent on the Dhamma, and arresting it by means of the patient that pays no heed to those who cause harm. Beginning with the first section, arresting it by means of the patience that is intent on the Dhamma, there are 2 points. The reason why it is unreasonable to be furious with those who cause harm to the statues of Buddhas, etc. And likewise, it is reasonable to be patient with those who cause harm to those due to oneself. Let's begin with verse 64, but before we read through that, Geta Dhammarinchen posits an argument or a doubt. Let's look at that. The argument is, though it is unreasonable to be angry when oneself is harmed, it is suitable to be angry when the triple gem is harmed or are harmed.
Kuzula never cheval, Tromiri Ginze. Said that Kuzon to the Nalachi Kangi, Nalak Katayari, Nali Injury, any Duzula, Nalong Mundus, when the dinner Lawanda, Nalong Mundus. In a Karangi, any near church in which is like and Jambasan Jomdi, go, Kundari, and it should be that Dindri Mambuji Karangi. And it torjum chigdus, never chigdus. Dinga condosagdus. Sadojiman, dear, and it condosagid matters. Rangi chapter, which is a new contagion by me, the sweet door by me, tell you condosag guvigi, Gunsen in your matters.
Looking at the first point in the section that explains how to arrest fury with respect to when harm is being inflicted to those who are dear to oneself. Someone might say that I understood the reasoning behind not getting angry when I am harmed. So if I am harmed physically or otherwise, I understand that it is unreasonable to be furious, to get angry. But then there are things that are dear to me, such as, for example, the 3 objects of refuge. The things that I venerate, the things that I pay homage to, the things that I prostrate to, such as, for example, statues of the Buddha, or in general, the representations of Bodhisattva mind. It is reasonable to become angry when those things that are close to my heart or dear to my heart are being harmed. Here, Shantideva says that also in this case, it is unreasonable to become angry.
Kanji and Shashokti and Jacob Tunaya, the number Kosun to the Shanyo Yoros, Ninayantadi, and Enchi, the Lombo Mam Shuji, and Jana or Imbano. The only Teniki, Jana, Choyoros, Lotonta, Chik Plaza, Konya, shoot Yoba, and go Chadam Jin, Tindimamuch Yonchin, and Toros. And Penal Yungi, the Nashingi, and Yami Kontangi, and Chip, and Koso to the Gomba Tazon, and a kingdom with Della Sovatsa, and some Tayoris, and those stay only one time, and in control less of some logic. Nedan Choyor Dania, Teleyangon, Condrosani, and it Golden Sauni, and it Condrosagui, Ginsen Sauni Yomaris.
When you think of the great number of representations of Bodhisattva mind that have existed in India and in Tibet, particularly when you think about it in terms of the how common it is to come across statues and so forth, representations of Bodhisattva mind in Asia. So many of them are there. There have been so many of them that have existed in India. And yet, when you look at Indian history, you can then see those events in which there were conflicts and so forth, which were motivated by anger, attachment, and so forth, which brought the destruction of so many precious objects, those that represent Bodhisattva mind. And the same thing also happened in Tibet, under the control of China, where countless statues and the like were completely destroyed. Monasteries were completely destroyed. Even the Sangha has suffered greatly under the rule of China. So you might think that in those cases, anger is justified. But here Shantideva says that even in those cases, anger is not justified.
Je kaisna nganzu ge koson tu de shanya gomba tazan shanya chike suzo rabd chunya a sangi chechya samalo kari che du chigos ladi nganzu kongro chia dasha chia mari wa doya che ti che du nganzu nam sangi chechi yoras inza da di ani control mangar drives ki kenji yawan di and namasan ki chaga manis ra tichidi ge kanji ken khandachi to bai ne ya ani thang lensin di ge rangyu ge ani nimutu som share ge tabla ya ani bev go ya di sanji chom de di ta ji damga ge nimut chaga ores.
We create representations of Bodhisattva mind, statues and the like. We build monasteries, temples, and so forth. People take ordination. People practice the Dhamma, and all of these activities are directed at overcoming our afflictive state of mind, pacifying anger, eradicating hatred, putting a stop to attachment, and so forth. This is the goal of the practice. But if you then get angry when temples are being destroyed, when statues and so forth are being destroyed, when harm is inflicted on the Dhamma and so forth, it means that you're not using the Dhamma for practice in the right way. This is, if you get angry, you're not practicing the Dhamma. So really what we want to do is to make sure that whatever condition we encounter, that condition is used for pacifying our afflictive states of mind. Whatever we occasion to meet, may that act as a condition for pacifying our afflictive states of mind. This is the essence of the Dhamma.
예, 나 가르면 가르도록 있는 뒤에 단대디 딱 직제되는 이유도 가르면 가르도록 있는 뒤에 오늘 단위기 산지 줄이야. 다 누구 말이었어. 하스나 차당기 산지 줄이야. 내가 아니 산지 줄이 차당기 인구 많이 받지. 차도라서라 당한 인사부터 성당에는 아니 산지 줄이 차당 점시를 말도 차당기 산지 줄 잘라당기 미차기요 말았어. 대인이야 먼저 미게르 소소기 상로 땅땅다 냠네 체당 만지기 토니 아니 장기 주기 차당고는 맞게든지 깎고를 연구열에서 이 아니 땡기 간사 소소기 아니 상로 땅땅 통내제 모두 사위 산지기 추기 니모토 좀점 투비 네바메바 딘지 네들 차기요 말았어.
So Bodhisattva said that this is not the essence of the instructions of the Buddha Dhamma. So whatever is being destroyed is not harming the Dhamma. If statues and the like are being destroyed, if anger, and therefore you claim that they harm the Dhamma, or if anger and attachment and so forth are harming the Dhamma, the implication would be that the Dhamma is not an antidote to anger and attachment. If anger and attachment can damage the Dhamma, how can the Dhamma act as an antidote to anger and attachment? So, although the destruction of those things does not destroy the Dhamma, it is not harming the Dhamma, still, it is possible that on a personal level, on an individual level, due to an incorrect way of thinking of the Dhamma, we get angry. It is possible that due to insufficient way of thinking about such affairs, we get angry and so forth. But this is not to say that the Dhamma doesn't have the ability to eradicate or to antidote anger and attachment. It's just to say that for some individuals, not knowing correctly how to think about certain occurrences, certain situations, they're incapable for the time being of using the Dhamma in order to prevent anger, attachment, and so forth from arising, or they're incapable of putting a stop to them. But it's not that the Dhamma does not have the ability to do so.
데리다 베네디나마야 고수 저된 담줄라 캘신지 지벌 제발랑 다기 셰담 미리디 산질라 순네무나스 데리라
Sorry, I should have. So we read through the argument that says, though it is unsuitable to be angry when self is harmed, it is suitable to be angry with when the triple gem is harmed. Verse 64 reads, though the bodies, stupas, and the holy Dhamma are derided and destroyed, my hatred is unsuitable because the Buddhas and so forth do not have harm. If the bodies of the Buddhas and the stupas of great enlightenment and so forth, and the holy Dhamma are the object of idle talk or criticism. And even if the bodies are destroyed, it is unsuitable to be angry. The Buddhas and so forth, the triple gem, do not possess harm, and the attacker is the object of compassion, and it is suitable to be affectionate towards them. The meaning is that the triple gem does not generate mental unhappiness due to mental pain.
제 베나 치기 고송투 댕리다 가름 거점 바이나 랑기 셈드 마투 바이나 상기 템바디 네데노스 베나 갑지니 겨름지 시우슈투 겨름지 니 다간 델리우스 레벨이야 창조 마치 니 다간 델리우스 저 소수 고송투 댕디 니 셈나오야 공예치 소디 셈나 공예치 그래도스 저 딘자 셈나오야 아니 고송투 댕이야 대바타나 요미고 요바이나 아니 듄기 아니 고송투 댕 상샤바디 지 아니 셰단 젠다 몸버 딘지기 아니 가리 또 가르쳐 봐야지 고 닌지고야기 율게 마도비 콘도사고야기 겐전 자원이니요 말이스
Things might occur externally, and yet if internally you do not allow anger to arise, you do not allow mental disturbance to occur, you abide within the Dhamma, which is what is honest, the Dalai Lama said. And Geshe has seen that occasion in which his honest says that my temple is my mind. So he pointed at his mind and said that this is my temple. The representations of body, speech, and mind, stupas, and the like are inside. So when we think about it, if you have pure faith and samaya bonds to the body, speech, and mind, stupas, statues, and so forth inside your mind, even when certain events come to pass where statues, stupas, and like are being damaged or being harmed, you see that it is not justified to get angry. Rather than thinking that it is justified to become angry, you see that it is justified to have compassion for the attacker, the person that damages statues, stupas, and so forth. In no way anger is justified.
상기 구수당 찬주침이 초대소당 담비철라 나기 경시 견조거당 류기 지버체바 다기 셰단처 메리디 상기소 군조소 내범응하시 내신 인치기 내임비 제와차리소 군조소가 이 미디와 셈시 견이 좀 된다.
So reading again through that explanation, it says, if the bodies of the Buddhas and the stupas of great enlightenment and so forth, and the body and the holy Dhamma are the object of idle talk or criticism, and even if the bodies are destroyed, it is unsuitable to be angry. The Buddhas and so forth, the triple gem, do not possess harm, and the attacker is the object of compassion, and it is suitable to be affectionate towards them. The meaning is that the triple gem does not generate mental unhappiness due to mental pain.
레다니바 기르시니라 인기리 셀 네버체벌로 쇠리반스 라마냐라 소바타 셀 뉴지 셀 네버체나라 하미츠키 겐데 겐타리 교반톤 초도스
The next point in this section in verse 65 comes out of the heading of likewise, it is reasonable to be patient with those who cause harm to those due to oneself, such, for example, the spiritual friend and so forth. Now, looking at verse 65, it reads, I should counteract anger towards those who harm my spiritual masters, relatives, and so forth, and friends, by seeing, as in the manner shown before, that they arise from conditions.
Tadi Changu Song Rang Chudin is Jodlo Rang Chudin Lamatan, Tuji Nela Sopatan, Zashila, never cheba Namlangs, Jengi never cheba Tomo Tro Miriti, Nela Sopos Lang, that Kong Sombanash, Semi Tamji, Tedaki, Miri Bachibi, Ligi Kuri, Haman Hamashibi, Twiki, Ligi Ken, John Tony. Ranye Tro Dog Chaos. Kanji Suzuki Re Uchigos.
It is a sensible attitude, Geshe says. Looking at the commentary to this section, it says, this is likewise unsuitable to get angry when one's teacher, contemporaries, relatives, or friends, and so forth are being harmed, or one sees them being harmed. One should stop anger by seeing that the friends and so forth are being harmed due to the karma accumulated through unsuitable actions in the past. That the harm had arisen through the earlier explained way of conditions.
Tirda Danganzu lenders ki lenders shendi. Song Guguri, lender Tsujin, some Guguri, and lender Tsushen, Tachi. It's a song chigo for us. To Sion Kakolia, Chita, Susu, and Nanju Tamabalaya, Kari Chombati, and Nanju and Hungu Lake of Chores, being on the bed, and Samuel, Tachi, Swing, love to us. Tachi Lama Givishin, individually a chip. Chong Di only Kaswatachi Kwa Shambach and Java Shambach gave the Goyach Namita Chagdos that the Nilami Leridos love to Madazra Inaya Shivalagi and Lama the Lama Samalo Susu Leris Sondas Karkapuri Sondas Ra.
So this verse emphasizes the consideration that we have for karma, actions and the result. We need to properly guard our karma. We need to properly consider karma, actions and the result. We need to have correct appreciation of karma, actions and the result. So whatever might occur to us, ordinary beings, we recognize that it occurs due to cause and conditions, that it arises from past accumulated actions. So we recognize that with respect to ourselves, ordinary beings, but then with respect to our lamas as spiritual friends, that also requires a different explanation. In that, Geshe feels that if something occurs to his spiritual teacher, to the lama, it's hard to kind of say that, well, that occurs because of their karma. It feels like uncomfortable to say that whatever occurs to them occurs because of their karma. But still, this is what Shantideva says here.
Simdengi and Selma Suchi and Toastin Takumyang dear Tindila Soba and Lavudas Tian and Selma Suban Teni Gombashim Shabatian and Hungi Lady one on the image Sungores and it touching Gombolu Tuji and Chojapanda Addition Soba. And kanji tindi any zabanam to jion dige and lessing in the dog never imbachi and should song yours raw.
So it feels uncomfortable to say that when your lamas and so forth are being harmed, it is due to their karma. Yeah, this is what Shantideva says here. So it's quite hard to think about how to explain that properly. And still, you can see that this sentiment is also echoed in the stories of the life of the Buddha. Like, for example, a common story says that prior to him passing away, he was poisoned by being pricked by a thorn, right? So there was either a thorn or something sharp containing poison. He was poisoned and passed away. And that was told with respect to the Buddha. So although he was a Buddha at that time, it's still, you can say, died due to poisoning, as the story goes. So though it is hard to explain that, still it seems that the common consensus is that that occurred due to previous action that was done. Also, when you look at how Nagarjuna, Atisha, and so forth spoke about karma in their compositions or in their life stories, you see that they've placed such a great emphasis on the working of karma, to the point where they say that karma is irreversible, or that there are karmas that cannot be overcome.
Pami Kudak Nyelin Chibi Ludi, Pama Nitsu Yashagochi, Madobi, and Ranlaya, Rangi, Luigi Mizamala, Di Nimachile, Torgo Yajibadi, and Joju Koran Gomban, Yoris, Joju Yoris, and Drombona Shiris. But these are this song down, and Yasha Yakam Pigi, and Lu Telea, Ukin Karimia, and Le Amitobi, Ken Karim, Chessivich. Nanzu Jede, Sanji Kuzu in Andra, and Nanzu Lu in Andra, Uncle, and Chiba Yon Choice, with the Chaguaris. In the Nanzu Shilta Uchin, Sanji Chile, Jambaino, and Sanji Sonia, Gawachi and Neba, Sama Nanzulaya, and Yamling a kid to yet Chaguaris, the mother Shon Chon was teaching Dedevaina, and Sanji Chudi, Gawa Surich. Ashingawa Suru, Tomaino, and Samuel, Debayonia, Tamayonia, some Gorgina Chagos rock.
When you give this point of consideration, either from the viewpoint of the sutras or from the viewpoint of the mantra, you can find ways of thinking of those states or stories, biographies of those great masters of the Buddha that were harmed at some point in time, and think of how could it be that their body is harmed. Like, for example, when you regard that from the viewpoint of the sutra system. On the sutra system, we speak about attaining a body in the nature of mind. When you reach a high level of realization, you can attain a body in the nature of mind. Now, when you attain a body in the nature of mind, your body is unlike the body that we have now, which is a coarse body. The coarse body that we have now can be harmed. But when you attain a body in the nature of mind, and when those bodhisattvas attain a body in the nature of mind, their body cannot be harmed like this body. So therefore, you have to understand it in a different way. How can this body be destroyed? Like, for example, in the life story of the Buddha, being stung or being harmed by something that contained poison. Geshe does not know exactly how to explain that, taking into consideration that the Buddha at that point in time had a body in the nature of mind. But then when you look at it from the sutra, from the mantra perspective, the system of Tantra, the system of Tantra maintains that we have this body that is visible to us. This is the body that we see. But in the practice of mantra, we also give rise to another body. And the other body that we give rise to is the body that goes on and become enlightened, or goes on to the state of enlightenment. Which means that there are two different bodies. The one that we see here, this is the cause body. And the other body that will go on to the state of enlightenment. So this body, we know very clear, but also close way, that this body came to us from the sperm and ovum that came from our father and mother. And as it is stated in many scripture, that needs to be discarded. That will be given up at some point, will be cast aside like a piece of wood. So since this body came into being under the control of certain causes and conditions, it can be harmed. It can be harmed, and not only that, it is something that we can say that occurs to others, and it also occurs to us. So when we think about this, this point, making a distinction between this body and the body that goes on and attain the state of enlightenment, according to the tantric system, then we can look at those different situations or scenarios that we encounter, either when we are being harmed or when a spiritual teacher experiences a certain situation, and we can bring it into a practice in giving it the consideration, that particular consideration from the point of mantra. But not only that, we can also see that there is an equality in those teachings that is applied equally both to ourselves and our spiritual teachers. Otherwise, if you would say that in our case, karma works in one way, but in the case of someone else, it works differently, you give rise to quite a lot of, to some degree of contradiction or objection that might come up and say that actually the work of karma is not really honest, it's not really precise. If it works one way for us and in another way for others. So if you give it the right consideration from a tantric perspective, you can bring it into practice, but you can also see that karma works equally in the same way for everyone.
Just when Geshe was saying, if I got that right, that some karmas can't be overcome. Is he saying, is that relating to some karmas can't be purified?
Mm-hmm. So when Geshe said before that some karmas cannot be overcome, does it mean that there are some karmas that cannot be purified? Chizandiguna krandi gombo ludru tan joji di namtar di tenwai na le kan kasmadan midokpa
le lendre ti loa meba imach.
loa meba.
Doctor meba imach.
Doctor meba se di Doctor Meba pesce Doctor Meba se di la croa kandechi jatu gre Doctor Meba se di yan dik washatu gi mares.
Mardi mare dibashar ne le chetse vigilan debut ni mingres dilia shadam suje machina debut Doctor Meba chires yongres ta yong ni jendoj.
Well, it's probably about the way that this kind of the way of expressing that in Tibetan. When you say that karma cannot be overcome, in the sense that you cannot reverse karma, it means in this context that karma is certain, and if cause and conditions come together to activate the karma, the cause that you have created, the result will come to be. But if you do apply a process of purification, it can still be purified.
Rangis Sabi Lady Namindi Chitang never Susu Yongoich. Chagyoba di Hakovana, and Le Megiva Chevalia, that Shujikin Zemson Yonsaras, Ra, then Gombolu Tanginam that the Shilshuman Kanji, and in Gombolu ki Namdari, and it Shojapanda Adisha, and Tamalaya, Kunyang in the Devakalia, Nyonshi Shechini, and Gombanyang in the Deva Tindi, Tindi Sungudas. Only Tindi and Toby Yonde, and that Sanja the Yambatavich Pelnaya, and Ludin T. Tolia, and called David Yongoyatochik. Did it check those? Things are Nanzo Telecam, and it Samgi, Nyamni, Tezamena, Telecam, and their conservative Namin di Pilayachi. Jagodamos, Chansam, Kegoach, the younger was right.
Well, saying that karma is irreversible means that the fruition of actions that we have created. So then looking at that from the perspective of different stories, different biographies, there's one of Aya Nagarjuna, and Geshe can't remember all the details, or is not totally familiar with all the details in the life story of Nagarjuna. And also the life story of Atisha, who said that at the end he passed into the state of Nirvana by himself. So though you could say that they have attained the same level of realizations of the Buddha, in that sense the mind had the same level of a Buddha's mind, still in terms of the way of passing away of what occurred to the body, it experienced a certain fruition that accorded with the karma that they have accumulated before. So that illustrates that principle that actions that we have done will be experienced in the sense that we will experience the fruition of actions that we have done. Of course, negative actions can be purified if we apply ourselves to process of purification, but if we don't do that, then we will experience the fruition of actions that we have done before. So one of the most important principles is to trust in the working of karma. Dila Tiva Retsnitsu. So Avis is asking if the body of the nature of mind is that the illusory body. Igel ranchingi lusa di tam gulu tunchik to chingparabes.
Tunching matters, bed sondan and driftan, bed logares.
So a body in the nature of mind and the illusory body are not the same thing. They are very different.
Tare. The thing also, Tangi love gonna mogan hamaso. Penatamba issue temper. Kong Kandas Yang and the day of a tea and Koransu Chulu Tony. Tagaran go with us, Ra. Piggy Kandas strong you may. Remote August.
Toma Mashikan Yang the devil.
The Mashkari Jesus number.
Oh.
And it damaging strong daughter. The concept Taran and good daughter.
Then it didn't young the devil than it. Logimabo.
Can you strong daughter?
Oh.
Ra. Strong by that pivots when young in the slaver the she's a general. Ra. The countess Gomazo Yobati, Taran Kogorada. Tinanganzu Nambe Komarada, this baby sort of chick.
The Sanget and dress of
baby sort of chigora. In a tagi, in a and chose upon the any music chimbu shoes sheni. Parents that the Gomazogalamu Kuzunedan Sovati, Tam Gomara. That D carriers, the carrier, the Eugene carriers, lay carriers, D Dushi Leris Lavana. Just chick daughter. Then
Chigdwasana de Kare.
Kansas, Lendeg be that Rodan Shegorada, Shemashing. The Lama Korangi, Shesamas Leris Lavan, the Nikangali Church. Tender sort and didn't tell song that then Jojo the song.
When you look at depictions of Jesus passing away, him passing away on the cross, being crucified, and what occurs after that is widely depicted in so many churches and other murals, stories, and so forth. So everyone is very familiar with the way that Jesus passed away. But then when you look at how this passing away is addressed in Buddhist narratives, it seems that rather than being displayed or spoken of in such a common way, it is something that is rather hidden. In that you don't, first of all, see many depictions of the way that not only the Buddha, the exact way that the Buddha passed away, but also of Nagarjuna and Atisha and so forth. It's not that you see that being depicted, spoken of all over the place, like, for example, in Christianity. So it is an unclear point where you consider the biographies of those teachers, the stories of those teachers or great beings. What happened to the body prior to passing away, and how do you connect it up with karma? Geshe says that something that he himself doesn't know how to tell or how to express. But still, you would say that the wider consensus is that such occurs from karma, it arises due to karma.
In a Dylan Gauchi Yomaris, Kyotampa Imbatan, and Chikuzu Nedan, Yodranilaya, Gao Maris, Kasna, Nansugi, Jetuya, Kuzu di, and Nansu the Chipichigangi, Shata the tribute, Kusu Chik, Shemavana, Nansu Jetu Menza, Tindi Shears, Tindi Shevainza, Tambo, and Kutrondini, Nanzonashi Chini, Troyella, Taman Yangin Indinia, Nanzonashi Chinta, Yangin Bedouars, the Telangowski or Maris, the leg turkey, and the Drosudi, Nanzonashi in Chongwanza, Nanzonashi in Drogo Wars, leg turkey, Drogo Wars, Tichik Carso, Zuntru Tony, and the Sujavis, the digital Mares, and the Chen Yamin Chin, Goba Maker, the Zao in the Mares, Zao in the Mares.
So when those great beings, great master, pass away, they pass away with a body that appears to us in a particular way. They appear to us as if they appear to us of what we see is a body that is similar to our body, made of flesh and blood. It is the only body that we can see. We cannot see another kind of body. What we can see is a body that is made of flesh and blood, one that is there from birth, and the one that at the end will pass away. So therefore, there is no contradiction in the process of passing away due to karma, through the force of karma. It's not that the passing away is done through a certain miraculous power or presenting some miracles. It does occur due to karma.
Kazusugi Yamin Chevainia, and Lu di Yotanshasi, Keomaris, the Metajuros, Nanjun Yamin Cheva Zu, and Yellow Topaset, Yiji di Tempered Yiji di, and Putar Drech. 아니 이기 템바디 이왕을 땜비게 템바디 아니 뿌타르지 디 균투니 아니 템바 마냐 맞지 깨원이 깨워 균투야지 딘디치 용구도 디 마도 아주 가주스 냠네 제바는 탈 아주 게 고원이 갑가려야 아니 아주 류 냠도 그래서 류코랑 로단레스 류 냠용디기 류를 땜비고 ombu 냠도야 돼 ombu 수젠바 냠 그래서 ombu sujenba nyamdi tele tembigi wanshi ngadi gyacha gyatama nyam gres wanshi nga nyamdi wanshi la ya shin de tsu chiwigi yishi ragba tya temba ragba tya nyam to gres disela masla chawa digi chi ngazu nyamnen sende meba tindi tsawni de dutu mares ro diresta.
We have this physical support, this body, and it's not that that can be changed or transformed through the practice of Dharma. What can be changed, what can transform, is a mental consciousness. We can use our practice in order to make our mental consciousness better and better. Not only that, we can practice in a way that will ensure that our consciousness will not decline, will not degenerate during the passing through one lifetime to the next. While the body declines, the body degenerates, the consciousness can be maintained to the point it will still go on without declining. So when the body declines through the process of aging and so forth, the sense powers which support the 5 sense consciousnesses, they also decline. If the sense power decline, also the 5 sense consciousnesses will lose their ability, the potency. And since the mental consciousness does interface with the 5 sense consciousnesses, due to the degeneration of the 5 sense powers, the 5 sense consciousnesses, it will also affect to some degree the mental consciousness. And it is clear, it is evident that when that occurs, then also some parts of the mental consciousness are declining, that some to a certain degree, the mental consciousness can become unclear. But despite that happening, we cannot really say with respect to the individual that go through that process that they're not an excellent practitioner or they haven't reached a good level of practice. This is something that does occur through the process of aging or degeneration. It does not mean to say that that person has not been a good practitioner. So Alan is saying, as I understand it, Bodhisattva attains a body that is in nature of mind on the first ground when they become an Arya. When do hearers and sort of realizes attain a body that is in the nature of mind? Is it also when they become an Arya or when they are an Ahat in a Pure Land? Satambo tobdu janjusemba di igi ranshingi ludi tobgeresen chisashtoa. Ani nyaran dachomba di igi ranshingi lu nam tobgeres di Papa chados and a tonlam tobdu igi ranshingi lu tobgerves dachomba tobne igi ranshingi lu tobgerves shinkan la tobgerves di kaduinas.
Terda tadichizan dan dochoni sondanchik dochoni sondanchik ngidanji shwe teres ra inza dan dochola ya sondige ringi chanju semba ani satambo wati satambo tobadan ani ludi ani ne gyotogres ludi bi namyuge nganju shata rusul tribiki ludi penen chik jayewa nashin chik yechini ani yigiranshin ludi chodrach chik sungores tien da gyunsen patto digi manzu ngonegi gyunsen chik ngesama kandara chagwanas ti ani karsota chik nekab chik songdanjire dwazra tinze ine zo di chanjuk sem 다 아니 동반이 원숭 또비 이시 원도 치 또기 또 치려야 이기란 식
근데
전주 생도 동니 원숭 또비 이시 또기 교와레스 딘지자와레스 단 냐라 다좀 리디 아니 사치기 두딩을 샤야레스 다 다좀 바디 체표와나 끼와 현랑바다 이기란 식 류나바 딩용 샤야레스
When Geshe refers to a body in the nature of mind, he refers to that from the viewpoint of the sutra explanation. So from the viewpoint of the sutra tradition, for a definite type Bodhisattva who attains the first ground, it is said that this is the way that it is described in scripture. It is said that the body that is made of flesh and blood disappears like a rainbow, and instead they attain a body in the nature of mind. So while this is a statement that you find in scripture, when you try to find the rationale for that, to work it up with reasoning, Geshe wonders if you could say that you need to take this explanation in a particular context, to explain it according to a particular point in time, or to give it a certain explanation rather than take it literally like that. Anyway, this is what you find in scripture from the viewpoint of the sutra tradition in relation to first ground bodhisattvas, which are definite type Mahayanists. Now, for hearers and sort of realizers that attain the state of an arhat, the body that they have on the basis it depends upon which they attain the state of an arhat is a contaminated, appropriated aggregate, which has been acquired before under the force of karma and affliction. So this is the body, depends upon which they attain the state of an arhat. Now, there will come a time in which they will pass away. So when the body passes away, the next body that they have is a body in the nature of mind.
chanju semda omani wonsong to yishi to kyurba research ta kanji di kawya anchi do shesha chin ta nyamne di gombe kawya ani sajju lamnga rimbi jotsu di gombe kawya an tatuna icherang cheroch ra ichi cheresas ta kanji ngesana di yachi sosu ichi yachi yadama ichi chebana di 갑 디투스 아니 다가라는 로지 이임바로지 차고서래서
So I left out something. Geshe says that when you then think of those bodhisattvas that attain the first ground, definite type Mahayanis attaining the first ground, the body on flesh and blood dissipates or disappears like a rainbow, and the body of the body transforms. They attain a body in the nature of mind. That occurs due to the power of combining the mind of enlightenment and wisdom perceptually realizes emptiness. So the combination of these two contributes to the ability to transform the body into a body in the nature of mind. So how do you then approach that teachings? Well, if you then study this presentation of the 5 paths and the 10 grounds and the mode of progression from one path to the next, ascending one ground to the next. And through that, you develop complete trust in this mode of progression. This is how it will come to pass.
지도자 지원이 가지고 콘트롤 사도에 저러서 이 콘트롤 사야지 원의 탄에 코란조 레기도 중요가 봐디 코란조 레라 때는 중앙이 봐디 아니 하모고 몽비왕기 다 콘트롤 사게 봐디 죽고도 asra.
The commentary to verse 65 says, "It is likewise unsuitable to get angry when one's teacher, contemporaries, relatives of friends, and so forth are being harmed or one sees them being harmed. One should stop anger by seeing that the friends and so forth are being harmed due to the karma accumulated through unsuitable actions in the past, that the harm had arisen through the earlier explained way of conditions." So, in short, when you think about karma working equally for everyone, then you see that on account of your own karma, it is unsuitable to get angry. But also just as well, when your spiritual teachers are being harmed, when those who are due to yourself are being harmed and so forth, you can think that that arises due to the force of karma, and therefore it is unsuitable to get angry. In that sense, although, as Geshe said before, it is quite difficult then to think of the harm that one spiritual teacher is experiencing arises due to the karma. Still you can think about it in that karma works equally for everyone.
I guess, but the obvious thing that comes up in Tibetan Buddhism would be His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and perhaps even if you look on your guru as a Buddha, and you think about everything happening in Tibet, the general thinking would be, this isn't karma, but a rebirth due to the power of compassion and prayer. And it still applies, isn't it? Because that's the general teaching.
So I'll repeat what you're saying. So when you consider that with respect to His Holiness the Dalai Lama or Tibetan Buddhism, what occurs in Tibet, then from the viewpoint of developing the mental attitude that sees your Lama as Buddha, you would think that such events occur due to the power of compassion. Yeah? Is that what you said? Oh, they come to the world
due to the power of compassion.
They're
not subject to that. That's not their karma, right?
Okay, so you would think that they come to the world due to karma and due to compassion, aspiration, or prayer. So you wouldn't then hold that whatever occurs to them occurs due to the karma because they came to the world through the force of compassion and prayers and so on. Kizandira ngaso gyarim buche sangye imba dushi shagirwa. Ani dilaso ba pela kebutamba mambochi june soso gewe shenin sangye imba dushi shagirwa. Sangye dushi shawe na onso kewa lentan di letan nyomong la tene kewa lengi res lemba res ne kelengi marwa. Konso ninje ta melam togi kewa lengi lemba res ne sigirwa. Ninje ta melam togi kewa lemba ina. Di konso di lela tene jumba res di mane keleng kaleka warwa.
Ninji zamanong toji kewa tia leg toji kewa res.
Ine sangye pena sangye let sama pangbar was.
Sangye ge nge samba ina.
No.
Sangye ge kan ani gomya di le res. Chawa res. Le singi di nge chawa la ngonzi chigis.
She's a kabdila sangye lesa hodin shagi marwa.
Lesa ba sa dian nesu loga jirendwa. Tambo kolong chiki ani chik yanja embezu chiko ya rochi tolson. Di sangye le yo mares.
Benadira pechet te le pangwa disa di sakchetan same le niga pansabares lagarwa.
Diris. Ina ya tsawi lesa di chawa la ngonzi chiko dos. Di pangya mandos. Sangye chawa pangya resla na simjing ten chibi chawa chigi oras.
제가 먼저 뉴제치 인용 바이나로
네시지
뉴제치 인용 바이나 상게 되는 게 아주 못 들었어. 너바치 인용 바이나 디 렐라텐 줌바레스야 디 카디가 레 당한 적이르베 사체 사멜레
케와 통마 메바니 산지 있는데 야와르무치 있는데 파워체리스 있는데 케와 통마 메바니 총자 케와 통마 메바니 사샤비 레기 나민디 카디나 아니 조메나 민초고사리스 아 보다샤제 투바 아니 탈 직샬레 젠딩 세마스 공부줘야 돼 산지기 케와님이 레지기 제버리스 네 산지에서니 연결 레스 아샤비 레기 제버리스 딜리라고 말했어 딜로가래봐 아
네, 양 let's have a tayo maresne kelongo kiro.
let tires let tires in namindi let tires tindiji logo was
Namin skevalenta
ah
namin sadi kevalen landi.
mar dindi ji ini yonya di ena chishal sending semasun da kuzu torejara di king zu di nanzu nanshin gi pi chadam mozung le de yomade di king zu di pen kewa jata mambungen la ya chi kong chi sa ji lejara di namin ji reshas
Ja ene di namin di tapares yan ledi tapares di tandakare.
레디 타바르 사디 레디 레사야 고농 줘라 레사야 고농 레기 주 아니 차담 모습 줘라 디스 파샤드 집어 빠온디 레디 타바르스
Tatela pashi tso mama.
이제 좀 몸을 잘 걸어 다 디잘 걸었다 아
All right. So Geshe said that to begin with, taking a breath through the force of compassion and aspirational prayers is karma, in a sense that when you apply the meaning of the word karma to be an action or an activity, then taking a breath through the force of compassion and aspirational prayer is an activity, is karma. So in my conversational debate with Geshe, I said that, but we say that a Buddha has abandoned all karmas. Since a Buddha doesn't have karma, in the sense that a Buddha has eliminated all karma, then it is hard to use the word karma or action for saying that taking a breath under the force of compassion and aspirational prayer is karma. So then, when we say that the Buddha has abandoned all karmas, we say that what we mean to say is that the Buddha does not accumulate karma. Not only a Buddha does not accumulate karma, the Buddha also has abandoned contaminated actions and uncontaminated actions. Both of those two sets of actions the Buddha has abandoned. Now, then you might think that if a Buddha has abandoned those karmas, a Buddha does not accumulate karma, still taking a birth through compassion and aspirational prayer is karma, then how can you explain a situation where you see that a Buddha or like His Holiness the Dalai Lama is being harmed? Now, how do you explain that? Well, Geshe says that you can still say that this is a ripening of action that has been accumulated before the attainment of one's enlightenment. Like, for example, in that story that is taken from the life of the Buddha, in which the Buddha was, pricked by a thorn of sandalwood tree that was poisoned and then passed away. So that is a ripening result, you could say, of a karma that has been accumulated before becoming a Buddha. So I continued by my debate with Geshe, or conversation. It wasn't like a strict debate, of course, but we still say that when you attain the state of Buddha, all karma has been purified. ripening of karma, or maturation of karma, is purified. If it is purified, how can then the result still be experienced? Well, Geshe says that you could take the position that when you say that all karmas are purified, from the perspective of the motivational forces for creating such karmas have been purified. So there are motivations that were involved with creating those negative actions. They are purified. But it is still possible, as we see in those biographies or in relation to his honors and so forth, that still a certain situation can ripen, even if one is a Buddha. So Geshe says that he would take the position and he will maintain that this is still a result of action that has been done before the attainment of the state of Buddhahood. Anyways, you can see kind of the conclusion that Geshe and I got to the point that, of course, this discussion can become very elaborated and very in-depth, and also it can be debated, right? So it's not that this is kind of the end of line in terms of answering your question about.
Inaya shabya sinding ki tsema suni pigi nyumsu tayada natsa tayada tindi yomardas dunga nyoyati yomaras in a di ken tsema sugoy ken joras ken di leto chongares the love was something in some there are.
And as I said, kind of, when you discuss that, then you have to go in depth and look at that in a very specific way. So Geshe says that since this is a position that he advanced, he needs to think about ways in order to maintain this position, right? So in the story of the Buddha, he was pricked by a thorn of a sandalwood tree, poisoned and then passed away, right? So when he stepped on a thorn of a sandalwood tree, there was no pain involved. So he did not experience physical pain, but still just being pricked by a thorn was conditioned by a past accumulated action or an action that was done before. Right? So Geshe is not saying that he experienced pain, but the condition of being pricked by a thorn was created by past karma.
Pena chanju semba nyewali kiwalemba yores. Son yores. Chanju semba nyewali kiwadi nanzu nanshin ki nyewe dungu shunchi nyongu uyo mares. Chanju semba toki. Nanzu chi polo sala yu nanshin ching. Ma yu na lamsan ya pagados. Migile ya deg ita chi tukwa de ya paya jores. Di nanshin chi mado nyongu uyo mares. Inaya ene ko leg toki led on sembu shui chago yenza.
It is also stated that bodhisattvas, that there are bodhisattvas who take rebirth in the hells. Although there are bodhisattvas that are born in the hells, still, because of the mind of enlightenment, they do not experience suffering like we experience when we are born in the hells. It is said that like a bouncing ball, right? So you slam a ball on the ground and it bounces back immediately. Similar to that, a bodhisattva that is born in the hell, due to the force of bodhicitta and the like, they bounce back from that state, from that hellish state of rebirth.
I was just thinking about how we say that a certain bodhisattva or Buddha is showing the aspect of dying or the aspect of having a stroke or something like that, and that's done for the disciples' benefit. Is that still according to karma that happens, or?
So we're also saying that a certain Buddha or a certain being shows the aspect of passing away or becoming sick or what have you. So when we say that they're showing the aspect of doing such and such, does we also maintain that that occurs due to karma?
And for the disciples' benefit, not to do with them.
Yeah, and they do it for the disciples' benefit, not for them. Also, Gyarin Boche di la Soba, then the Kyo Tamba Daran, the Chick Jumbaina, some number thing rest in the Chick Laptan Chick Dwa. Jazan number Chick Tengirese, the Dujigi Chedu, Conson number Chick Tengires in Lagirwa. Get a set on the Dochi Pechtawaina, Daran Shewaina, Dilla. Let tene jumbares in Lagirbe, Siaman number 10 mato.
Lel temperes, Kasim Shore Sanata, Lama in Lel temperes, Lama in Lel temperes, need Dela Jarchandra, Jaguarista, Madonna the La Machine is go. Inia, that late Jagid Namja Tashi Tawati, Tash Tawa Shivalaya, Sanji Gor Son Deati, the Kalaka Shuji the Yakisha was wrong.
Well, Geshe says that since here we study Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, rather than using the terminology showing the aspect, he will use what Shantideva says. Shantideva says that when that occurs to the lamas, the spirituals, friends, and so forth, it occurs to karma. Geshe will follow that position, right? So rather than saying that they're just showing the aspect, Geshe will say, Shantideva here says that it occurs to karma, and therefore this is how it occurs. Having said that, still understanding all the subtleties of karma is something that is exclusively a Buddha's sphere of knowledge. We cannot understand all the ins and outs of karma, which means that only if we were to get a higher and higher rebirth, only then we'll be able to develop a greater and greater understanding of the working of karma.
Lama son there, the Lama Tamjala Javi Rimago, Lama the Keva Chichin, Lama Tat, Lama Tugati, Lama Dodi Yaki, Lama Tati, Yato, Tinditsaw Sungu Sangundos, Ra, Lama Yata Maya Seti, Lama Chenab Cheda Machi Seti, and the social rallies. Sosu Teba Tana, Katsu Siova Titsugi. And Lami Chandler Jugaji read the motto Lama yet, Sami Dugmundas, Tangan on Lama Chuk to Chashur, Lama Chiak, which would cut on the D only some Damana, Suzu Yamni Chimashi, Tagredos, Susulia, Tebatama, and Kazuski, Pigilia, Putabuyova, Shukchambuyova, Titsugu, and Lami Chandler Julia service, Ra, Bena. Here
Shantideva says, he applies that with respect to the Lama, the spiritual friends, and he does that without speaking of good Lamas and bad Lamas, high Lamas or lower Lamas. It's not making any distinction between Lamas that take a rebirth in a miserable state of existence and those who are much better Lamas. He applies that it seems equally to all Lamas, to all spiritual friends. So since this is what Shantideva says here in the text that we follow, Geshe is also following this position. So that means Geshe says that in terms of the attitude that we develop in relation to the Lama, then we cannot really say that this Lama is good or this Lama is bad, or their blessings is good or not that good. Receiving the blessings of the Lama depends upon the degree of faith and pure perception that we develop in those Lamas. So rather than thinking that they have powerful blessings or better blessings or lesser blessings, it pretty much depends on the degree of faith and pure perception that we have in those Lamas. So then applying that into our practice, then we sometimes pass judgment of certain Lamas. They're good or they're bad, they're powerful, not powerful. Geshe reckons that this assessment is incorrect in the sense that that's not the way to go forward with such an assessment. It depends on the faith, the trust, the pure perception that we have towards those Lamas.
Yeah, the garden cheju chechosares. Ra. And Suzu chetu. the chief Pena, Tangaran gained or Jimbana. Lord Tomna Dijinia, and a chief Chavi Trinayaje, Lavja Junior, the Shujin Ayoras, Tinza, the Tinti and Chani, Garden Cheju some Nayoris. Mother Chinlab Cheju di Susam rallying yours, Susitable rallying, Yajadamaris.
Of course, you can also have an assessment of the Lama that was the kinder to you. Lamas can have different degrees of kindness in relation to you. That, for example, Geshe says that personally, having relied upon his spiritual teachers his spiritual teacher over a few decades, teaching him scriptures, teaching him different things, giving him advice and so forth, for him, his spiritual teacher is the kindest. So that's one point. But then in terms of being able to engage the blessings of the lamas in general, that depends upon your faith and your pure perception. Thank you. Let's put the dedication on the screen. Yododa lama sangye dugile roachi kyamalu pa de sala gopa sho Rinpoche make panu ki gyuchi kewa nyamba me baya kone kondo pewara sho Kowe shinkansu pendan dewa malu shungini chepe siwa tenzi yatsoi Shabe sindi bardu tengyuru ji Shondun chobe lam chenche samze kanchi tengyuru Chana pemo tenzin gyatsola sowa ten so shendu nondru Chanchin jangun yawe tenzin kyon pewe gonso dupo Chosun ko ele mantu gyu Ata so tu shin kondu shabdin shu. Thank you.